Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 885A, and today's date is February 4th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Economy Completely Collapses with a 218% increase in layoffs. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. We're going to head out to Greece, and it looks like the problems in Greece have not been fixed whatsoever, even though the central banks are piling in debt into the country, stealing the country of its natural resources, and stealing basically everything from the country. We see the people have had it. They're done. They are on a 24-hour strike. And it was launched by almost all professional groups, workers, public sector employees, mass transit services. They're saying this is absolutely ridiculous. Thousands of people have taken to the streets, and they're protesting about pensions, about taxes, and how they were lied to by the government. And we see even the offices of the ministries, the municipal offices, schools, universities, public hospitals, they're closed also. Ships are tied in the harbors due to the 48-hour strike. And we're seeing that the airports, they had to reschedule because of what is going on there. And the sentiment on the ground is that Tsipras fooled the people and promised to reverse austerity cuts, and he's doing the opposite. He did a 180 and went along with the central bankers. And we see right now the people are the ones who end up suffering from all this. The central bankers, they're coming in, they're buying up the ports, they're buying up different natural resources in the country for pennies on the dollar. Basically, they're robbing the country. This is what central bankers do. They load the countries up with debt, they swoop on in, and basically they take whatever they want. And this is what we're seeing right now. Now, throughout Europe, we are realizing that the economies in each one of these countries, now each one is different. I mean, we have Greece and Cyprus. They're doing terribly. So is Italy. So is France. So is Portugal. So is Spain. And other countries are on their way. But each one is at a different level. But when we look at Eurozone as a whole, they are continually pushing stimulus to fix the problem. And guess what? It is not working. As we discussed before, manufacturing and the service sector, they are both slowing. This is the lowest rate in 4 months. And from everything that the ECB is trying to do, it's not going to work. It creates bubbles. It makes it look like things are getting better, but in reality, everything continually gets worse. Here in the States, what are we seeing? Well, we are seeing the initial jobless claims. We are definitely in a trend moving upward. Everything changed course around September of 2015, and ever since, everyone now is filing for initial jobless claims. Now, why is this? Well, it looks like it's getting harder and harder to manipulate these numbers, but we are seeing more and more layoffs. Retail stores are closing, laying off people. Corporations are laying off people. Credit Suisse, they're going to be cutting 4,000 jobs. Shell confirms 10,000 people are going to be laid off. So we're getting a report in from Challenger Gray, because as we know, as of 2013, the department that basically collected all the data on what layoffs there are, that department was kind of removed because of budget cuts. So we have a private company that's looking at this. And Challenger Gray said the first month of 2016, which U.S.-based employers reported about 75,114 planned job cuts. This was a 218% increase from December. And if we go back 1 year, the same month, it's 42% higher. So we are looking at this entire situation, and it is getting worse and worse as we move forward. According to Challenger, we're seeing heavy downsizing in the retail and energy sectors. January was the largest total since 241,749 job cuts were announced during the first month of 2009. Retailers announced 53,968 planned layoffs. What are we looking at here? Well, we are seeing that this entire economy right now is collapsing right in front of our eyes. And every time we report on this, it gets worse and worse as we move along. It is not getting better at all. And this is only going to accelerate because what? All of a sudden, the economy is going to start producing. Manufacturers are going to pick up. Retail stores are going to reopen. No. We're going to see none of this. This trend is downward. The trend is layoffs. The trend is there are no sales. The trend is no one's purchasing. The trend is manufacturing is dead. The trend is the Baltic Dry Index is continually decreasing because there is no demand right now. That is the trend. Factory orders right now, they have tumbled by 2.9% in December. This is the biggest month-on-month drop since December of 2014. This is the 14-monthly drop in year-on-year factory orders. And this is something that has not happened outside of a U.S. economic recession. So for all intents and purposes, we are in a recession/depression right now. And of course, no one will admit to it. The government's not going to come out and say, yes, we are in a recession/depression, because they've been pushing the idea that we've recovered. So they just can't come out and say, yeah, we reversed and we're back. No, they can't do that. The Fed just increased the interest rates. They can't come out and say, okay, the economy just went into a recession. They're not going to do it. They are going to lie until the very end. And even more concerning is the surge in inventories to shipments. They are at cycle highs seen in 2000 and 2008. It's just getting worse and worse as time goes on. And we should all be concerned at this point of what is happening here, because we're really seeing the economy start to accelerate in a downward fashion. Now, I don't think this will be a problem here, and it's probably nothing really to look at, but January truck orders, they've collapsed by 48%. The trucking industry is declining rapidly. And we understand why, because there's no demand. People are losing their jobs. People aren't making the money. They're getting laid off. They're not going out to the retail stores, so the retail stores are closing. Since the retail stores are closing, they're laying off more people. More people are out of work, so they apply for unemployment insurance. So we're seeing the initial jobless claims move upward. And since all this is happening, guess what? Manufacturers don't have to produce. There's no factory orders. Since they don't have to produce, guess what? The Baltic Dry Index continually falls because they don't need the raw materials to create any type of goods out there. And the trucks, they're not delivering anything. The rail traffic has gone down. But right now, U.S. trucking has not been this bad since the financial crisis. I mean, we looked back in November when we reported on this, that Class 8 trucking net orders, they were 59% below a year ago, and the lowest since September 2012. And what we're seeing right now is that this is continually declining. The trucking industry says it is not looking good for this year. It's not going to be a strong year. Trucking companies right now have been holding back on buying new models because they're looking at the situation and they're realizing things are starting to fall apart. Actually, we're going to see lots of layoffs in the trucking industry. And we're going to see problems in that industry, just like we've been seeing it in every single one of these industries. And it's just going to get worse. I mean, when we look at this and we look at the entire financial picture here, what are we seeing? We are seeing every sector of the economy is completely falling apart. Yes, they can manipulate certain areas to make it look good. And I know those people are out there saying, see, this one little area, it's still good. But guess what? It doesn't matter. They can manipulate it all they want. Eventually, it's not even going to make sense. I remember a year ago when we were all reporting on this, people were sending me emails about everything saying, yes, I see this downturn, I see that. And people were saying, no, it still looks good. But it's spreading now. It's getting worse in every single sector. People are starting to realize there is a problem in this economy. It's either the data that we're talking about, it's not true, or the government is lying. And I'm going to go with the government is lying. Because they've lied to us, I don't know, a couple thousand times now. They seem never to tell us the truth. And we know they're telling everyone, like all the young adults, to go back to school, get a job, get your degree. You're going to find this great job. It's not happening either, people. People are coming out of college. They have massive student loans. They can't find jobs in their major. They can't find those high-paying jobs. They go out for a part-time job, and they have to live with their parents. All those percentages are up. And they did a survey on the young Americans, and it seems that they have no clue or know nothing about their student loans whatsoever. 7 out of 10 college graduates are leaving school with student loans to pay back, and this new poll shows that these young people have a very low level of knowledge about the debt that they owe. 8% of those interviewed surveyed know the current interest rates on their loans, and 6% only know how long it will take to make the repayments. 59% of the students believe that Americans in total only owe about $1 million or so in student debt. The actual figure of what all the students owe together is about 1.3 trillion. So many of these people, they have no idea how much they owe, what their payments are going to be. And as we know, the government right now, they've modified everything because they realize they're not finding the jobs. They're not getting the income. So the student loans are based off the income that you're receiving. So if you have a part-time job, they readjust your payments. They spread them out over a longer period of time. And it might take someone 15, 20 years to pay it back, depending on how much you owe. And we can see that the U.S. government, central bankers, they are trying to inflate these bubbles. They realize the American people are tapped out right now. They're losing their jobs. And the only way to inflate these bubbles is to bring in more people into the country. They need more of these people to inflate the auto loan bubble, the student loan bubble, the housing bubble. This is all they have left. They can modify loans. They can make it easier for people, to get loans. But after a while, you run out of these people. The amount of people is finite, so they have to bring more in from other places. And now you're starting to see the picture of why they want these illegals in here and why they want them to come into the country, because it allows them to expand the debt bubbles. We see the TPP. We know that 12 countries signed it. They still have to ratify it. Same thing here in the United States. It was more of more propaganda to let everyone know that everyone is in on this. But in New Zealand, huge protests out there. And New Zealand formally signed the free trade agreement. And the people are saying, no, we do not want this. And many of the people out there are saying, we do not want the TPP, but the president is out there saying, listen, we need to ratify the TPP today, this year. We can't wait. Now, why is he pushing so hard? Is this going to create incredible jobs for the people? No. It will bring in foreign workers into this country. And again, the manufacturers, the corporations will only have to pay them the going rate of their country, which will make it hard for the American people. But they don't care about the American people. What do they want? They want fresh, new people in the country, because if they come over here and they're working, guess what they're going to do? They're going to need a car, so they're going to have to take out an auto loan. They might go back to school, so they'll take out a student loan. They will maybe purchase a house, if it's possible. And this will allow the central bankers to continually push their debt larger and larger. And of course, we know there's many other agendas associated with the TPP. But we can see how all this is playing into each other. And it's getting worse. Now, our students, our young children who are going to school, we know that they implemented Common Core in many of the states, which is not helping the students whatsoever. Just like No Child Left Behind didn't do anything for the children. And now we have proof of this. There is a new report which was released by the Network for Public Education, the NPE. They evaluated schools on a 6-point system. And they went around the country to all 50 states. And these points included resistance to privatization, professionalization of teaching, school finance, allocation of taxpayer resources, reliance on high-stakes testing, and academic success. So they looked at all these points, and they started giving grades out. Well, guess what? The grades were C's, D's, and F's. I mean, this is absolutely awful. And in their report, they noted something very specific of why this happened. The report noted that policies and laws enacted by states, of course they were forced to do this by the federal government, because if they didn't do it, they didn't receive the funds, was from the implementation of the No Child Left Behind Act. This has significantly downgraded the quality of education in the public school system. And looking forward, the Common Core system is going to bring the school system down even further. Remember, they're implementing a program where they have no proof of that it's going to work at all. They're telling us it's going to work, but from the evidence that we've been seeing, we've noticed that no, it's not. And if you want to hear more about this, you can go to the X22 Report Spotlight. I did an interview with Dr. Duke Pesta. You can look for that interview, and he explains the entire Common Core of why it's not going to work and how it was created. And we see right now they're doing this on purpose. It's to dumb down the American people. Because as they pass the TPP, bring in foreign workers, the foreign workers are receiving the pay from their country. The American people cannot work. Manufacturing has left the country. High-paying jobs have left the country. They only want to educate the people at a certain level. This is what the elite are doing. And they're pushing this as hard as they possibly can. And if you notice, every time the federal government, sticks their hands into something and tries to make it better or tells us they're making it better, it only seems to get worse. And it's just a fact. It never gets better. And this is why the Founding Fathers wanted people in communities at a local level to decide for their children what type of education and everything else that is surrounding their community, what they wanted them to do there. They didn't want the federal government coming in and saying, this is best for you. No, because as we know, the local communities, the parents of the community, know what's best for their children. They know what's best for their town. And this is why the Founding Fathers created the system the way it is. But the federal government is overreaching right now because they want control of everything. And this is why they bribe the states, the cities, the towns with money to get their way. If you want Common Core, which sounds great, then you have to accept the No Child Left Behind, and we will give you money for that as long as you accept Common Core. And we can see right now, this is all part of their master plan. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared.